Hi, this is Rachel from Ray K Books, and today I'm going to be interviewing Louise, who is the author of By the Grace of Todd. Hello, Louise.
Hello. How are you,
So,
Internet?
yeah, hello, Internet. So can you please tell or give us a synopsis of By the Grace of Todd?
Sure. Okay. Todd is a very messy boy. His room is like Roomageddon. Basically, it's hoarder's level messy. And his mom discovers, I don't know what she was thinking, not looking, but it's suddenly she discovers how bad it is and makes him clean it or he can't go to his best friend's party. And underneath his bed, he discovers, growing on his nasty, grungy baseball sock, he discovers a civilization of little people and they think that he is their god. And so that's problematic because the book opens with the funeral of his hermit crab because he's forgotten he even had a hermit crab. And so most responsible kid. So the whole premise of the book is him trying to keep this little tiny group of people alive and out of the hands of the school bully, Max Loving, who discovers them accidentally and wants to use them for like a can't even say it, Cirque du Soleil, like a circus training science project where he makes them jump through flaming bubble wands and hideous things like that. So it's all about Todd wanting to not be a dork anymore. He's sick of being bullied, and he and his best friend Duddy are into Dragon Sensei, which is a Japanese anime series, which just makes them dorkier than they already are. And so he's entering school, and he wants to shed that image and be cool, and so he thinks that Max really likes him and wants to be friends, where he's just using him. And so he finally has to come to grips with, am I going to stand up for my little people and save them, or am I going to just go ahead and try and be cool and, you know, let my friends go? So it gets down to the nitty-gritty of being true to yourself, and you know, there's a lot of the Toddlians live on his dead skin, and so it's, you know, pretty grody at some point. I had a lady that just started reading it, one of my writer buddies, say, this makes me want to go home and change my sheets immediately. And that's a lot of grown-ups that read it, but kids seem to like it. So that's it in a nutshell.
So my first question is, if you were just cleaning up and all of a sudden you see tiny people everywhere, just like the book, and they say, "You're our God," what would you do?
Oh, well, I would probably, I want to say the right thing here. I would probably check to make sure I was awake, which is kind of the first thing he. And then, you know, I always believed in little people. I was a fairy believer. I was a leprechaun looker. You know, I would hunt through the clover. I was sea monkeys were my favorite thing. I believed they were tiny little people, even though they look like shrimp, but I believe they were like the ads, you know. So I don't know. I think I would be thrilled, and also probably be very tempted to do what Max tries to do in the book, and that's sell them to science or be, you know, the money end of it. But if they depended completely on me, boy, I feel sorry for them. But that's a fun scenario. I hadn't really thought about it happening to me, but that's a good question.
And then we're going to go into some Twitter questions. Rebecca says, can you tell us a little bit about what's in the sequel in Todd We Trust?
Okay, Todd We Trust picks up where this one left off. It is the reason it's named that is because the Toddlians are not sure that he is the best god for them. They're starting to feel neglected. He forgets to fill up Lake Parquet, which is the butter lid, which is where their watering hole, and he forgets to replenish Mount Jim clothes, which is what they live on and eat. His grunge and sweat and stuff.
Ew.
Yes, I know. So they start feeling very abandoned, and they're going hungry. And it's all because Todd is always at this magical kingdom called the Mall, or he's off, you know, there's a new girl at school, and he has a mad crush on her. I mean, he's bonkers for her. And this is the first time this has ever happened to Todd. So they begin to feel really neglected. And the whole book is about them trying to get his attention, thinking that he's angry with them, just not understanding why their God has forsaken them. And it's about, those that are more loyal to him versus those that are like, let's go. His neighbor Lucy, which is a main character in this book and also in the next, is a science geek, and she loves the Toddlians. She helps take care of them. She actually names them the Toddlians in the first book. And some of them want to go have her be the god, but in the process, they build a little ark out of a little matchstick Toddlian boat and try to sail down the gutter, and it gets really crazy after that. So, and Max is still trying to get them back. And so and everybody in the book pretty much has a crush on someone else. And Todd joins the swim team. He finds out that's the only sport that he's actually good at. And that comes in handy when he needs to swim and save the Toddlians. So I hope I didn't put too many spoilers in that. But
I hope not either, but still, it sounds interesting. The second Twitter question is from Mary Elizabeth, and she says, are you interested in doing school visits? If so, how would a teacher or librarian request a visit?
I do school visits. I can do Skype visits or in-class visits, and it's all on my website, which is bythegraceoftodd.com, just all together, bythegraceoftodd.com. I have an events page, and you can contact me through that, or louisegalveston@gmail.com. So, yes.
And then another Twitter question is, do you want to write a middle grade book? Did you want to write a middle grade book and then come up with the idea, or did you get the idea and it just happened to be middle grade?
I think right now all I'm writing is middle grade and some chapter book type things, so that's just kind of my sweet spot right now. I'd love to do some YA, but I don't feel quite qualified. I'm underread, so I need to beef up on that. But right now, middle grade is just that's where I like to write. So it always was. Entering middle school, I went to a whole new schools system in middle school. Had to make all new friends, and to me, that's just such a crazy, interesting time in life where kids, you see a 6th grader and then you throw them in there with a bunch of 8th graders that look almost grown, and it's just a whole, that puberty bridge is just an amazing time. I like to play around with that.
So, speaking of age groups and genres and stuff, what is one genre you will never write in, and what's one that you want to kind of dip your toes into?
I would really like to dip my toes, I'll start with that first, into historical. I have a partially finished manuscript, and I love it. It's just, it deals with a girl who moves from out east to my area in Kansas, and she makes friends with the Osages. And I just got so hunkered down in all the research because I didn't want to do any disservice to them and spend a lot of time researching. And I was at a stage where I really wanted to write, and just move forward and become a better writer. So that's still there. I love history. I'm an Austen fanatic. I love, I like the past, but I probably will never write, I probably won't ever write like really hardcore horror or sci-fi. I mean, I say that, and I'm working on a sci-fi series right now, but it's a very
little bit of a hypocrite right now.
I'm not, I'm just, my world building skills, that's probably one of my weaker areas because I'm a was a playwright before I started trying to write novels. So I'm real good at dialogue, but I often forget that people can't see the settings in my head, and so I have to always consciously be world building. So I don't think I'm going to dive into any other planetary stuff that's too complex right now or anything like that. And horror, I can't watch scary movies, so I'm certainly not going to write about them and have those people in my head all the time.
So you say that a weakness is world building. So are you doing something to help strengthen that in order to continue moving forward in your career?
Right. Well, reading outside of my little genre that way, trying to do some of that. I don't have a whole lot of time for that right now. I wish I did have more time to read, which Stephen King would slap me for that. But I'm reading a lot of advanced reader copies for other writers that are debut authors this year. We kind of do that for each other, and so that's a lot of fun, but it's taking some of that extra time away. And also, I'm just really being conscious, like on a second draft, because my first drafts are usually a lot of dialogue and action, and then my second draft, I go back in and try to really, really work on setting, and and to, and then test it out with other readers and say, do you feel like you're settled in this place and you're located where you're supposed to be? So it's a real that's probably my biggest weakness is setting.
And then another Twitter question is from Edith, and she asks, what's your favorite scene in By the Grace of Todd?
I think my very favorite scene is probably the scene where we first meet Lucy, and he's just seen his sock sparking, and he doesn't know what it is, and she's talked to him about spontaneous human combustion before, and so he thinks maybe that's going on with his sock. He doesn't know, and so she does this little, she doesn't lick it, but she smells it and does this flavor testing, and she's just so quirky and fun. I love that scene when you first meet her. It's almost word for word like it was my very first draft, and I think when that happens and it stays through all the edits and everything, that was something that was really fun and inspired. And I also love, there's a scene which is terrible to love, but where Max has convinced him that they need to break into their science teacher's car and steal a test so they can have the answers. And he doesn't want to go along with it. He's got Todd Leons in his hair going, don't do it, don't do it. But anyway, he's small enough to get in the car window, and they break in, and the car starts to roll down a hill towards a playground of little children. And he's stuck in the car and he can't get out. And I don't know, the tension of that, it's just a really fun read to me. Everything, of course, turns out all right. And then the last scene of the book, when they're all at his best friend Duddy's birthday party, and it's just excitement and happiness, and everybody's in their Dragon Sensei costumes, and it's just this very, that scene's a lot of fun for me because it's the satisfying end, I guess. So those are my favorite scenes. It's hard to pick. I also love the scenes with Daisy the baby. He has a diabolical little sister who's my favorite character, I think. After the second book especially, she gets a lot more page time. So the scenes with Louis the Toddlian and her, and they're making art together, those are really fun.
And now we're going to be playing a game called Would You Rather. It's going to be a lot of fun. So for those of you who don't know what Would You Rather is, I would ask Louise something like, would you rather eat apples or oranges for the rest of your life? And she'd have to say either apples or oranges, except this is literature edition. So the first question is, would you rather read a book that is poorly written but has an excellent story, or read one with weak content but is written well?
Oh, definitely the second one. I would rather read good writing than a good plot. I can't watch the Star Wars movies, the recent ones, and I'm sorry, my kids are because never mind. I direct theater, and so to me, I'd rather watch something really lamely plotted out, but that had just awesome writing. I can't handle. And I'm not saying that I'm a wonderful actress, but bad acting I know, a good acting and not.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, I'm done off that rant. Okay.
All right, the second one. No worries, no worries. The second one is, who would you rather have as a child? Harry Potter or Hermione Granger?
Oh, Harry Potter. Definitely. I think. Definitely.
Okay. Would you rather only write your books in standalones or trilogies?
I kind of like this is my first attempt at a series, so I'm liking that. My other attempts at novels have just been standalones, and you miss the characters. And I've heard other writers say that too when they finish a trilogy or a series. They're like, I miss them, and that's just a weird writerly thing where they become such a part of you.
Would you rather write a book without using conjunctions, or have every sentence of your book begin with one?
Oh, I think I could do without the conjunctions better than have to begin them all. Yeah, you just have to have a lot of dashes and commas, and I could.
Okay, would you rather write a plot twist you hated, or write a character you hated?
Well, probably a character that I hated, I would think. Because then you could do terrible things to them.
If you don't like them, you can kill them
That's
or
right.
push them off a cliff.
Right.
Uh,
That's, yeah.
would you rather a super successful movie be made from one of your books or a long-lasting television series?
Hmm. That is hard. Oh, I hadn't thought about a television series. Well, if they did, yeah, I would say probably. Ooh, I'm gonna go with the movie. I'm gonna go with the movie. I don't know why, but
That's
I'm.
fine. It's a win-win situation. Like, no matter what you pick, it's good. And then the last one is, would you rather critics rip your book apart publicly or never talk about it at all?
Oh, ripping publicly. I can't believe I'm even saying that, but at least that's getting people curious as to why do you hate this book so much. I think every author fears crickets more than just about anything else.
And then now that we're completed on the Would You Rather, congratulations, good job, woo! A plus, gold star. And my next question now is going to be about you being a debut author. That is so exciting. So you're under Penguin. So when Penguin said to you, "Okay, we'll take your book," what was your reaction?
Oh, I pretty much hyperventilated. My husband happened to be, and I saw the email on my phone, and I went running and showed him, going, you know. So yeah, that was yes, that was definitely. I had no words, and I pretty much just flew around for a while. I was um, just. I mean, it's your dream. It's awesome. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I was very happy.
So there's a Twitter question. I think it's a joke, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and I know the answer, but it's still kind of funny. Rebecca asks, "Is By the Grace of Todd based on a true story?"
I get asked that a lot, especially in the classroom. Kids want to know, your kid's room's that messy. So obviously not. There's no real. Well, I shouldn't say that because I still believe in little people, but we haven't discovered any yet. Um, but I mean, I have 5 boys, so I have seen messes, and the good thing is my husband is a real cleanie, even though I'm more of a I'm not a real messy where it bothers me when things are messy, but not usually enough to get really upset about it. And he likes things nice and clean. And of course, we have 11 children, 9, 10 still at home, and one is off to college, but she comes home anyway. So so he likes, he keeps it fairly clean. We keep it clean together. So no, I can't say that. Although I do have one son who just making sure he just left. Uh, he's they're not. He's not a hoarder per se in that he's messy, but he keeps everything, and you have to go through occasionally and say we must let this go, and so yeah, I'm quite acquainted with stinky socks and boys of that age. So not exactly a true story. It's sort of a
Based on a true story, a little bit.
yes. It's based on my life in general because I
Yeah.
have a 2-year-old who was little when I was writing Daisy, and we laugh about her being a little evil genius, even though she's not evil, but I mean she's very computer proficient, and she's special. But so yeah, there's a lot of me. I'm very much like Lucy, only not nearly as brainy as she is. I was a huge science nerd in school, and so there's, as in every author's book, there's usually a lot of things of them in there, but not based on an actual true story.
And then the next Twitter question is from Vivi, and she asks, "What was the inspiration but behind the title of By the Grace of Todd?"
Well, grace actually just means like, favor you didn't earn, or I look at it as mercy. And actually, sometimes I think it should be by the grace of the Toddlians because they have to put up so much with Todd, but they're really at his mercy. So yeah, it's a play on obviously by the grace of God, which he's their God. So it's kind of little bit has a little bit of a parable in there, and the next one even more so. But I think it's just yeah, they're at his mercy, and he pulls through for them, so that's good. Eventually,
Spoiler alert. No, it's fine. Is there
right.
a message in your novel that you want readers to grasp?
The message I really hope comes home to kids and adults is just to, as I sign the books, I sign be who you are, because that's the lesson that Todd learns. And the ultimate, and he goes back to, well, okay, I won't spoil that. But anyway, he does learn finally that it's okay to be yourself. And even if that is a dorky you in the world's eyes, you are the coolest person that you will ever meet. And also, personal responsibility is a big thing he picks up along the way too. But the really nugget I want kids to get is that you are okay, and you need to find friends that make you happy, not the ones that you think will make you cool, because that is cool, is being yourself. So that's it.
And what books have most influenced your life?
Oh, well, I I mm, I mean, bottom line, the Bible, of course. I used to be a minister, so that before we had a lot of children, we were in full-time ministry. But I like I said, I'm a huge Jane Austen fan. I would say she has influenced maybe my. She probably wouldn't. She's rolling over right now. My writing, though, I love her wit, and I love Lucy Maud Montgomery and everything that she's done with. She's so funny. To me, she's the consummate writer where she has the setting that I lack, and she's got the humor, and her characters are just so endearing. Um, I love Jerry Spinelli. I think he is just a phenomenon, and I've got to sit under him at conferences, and his writing, it comes so much from his life, and when you actually hear him tell stories, it's amazing. He and his wife had 6 kids, and she really talked to me about learning how to write in the cracks, and make it work even if you've got a big family. Um, I love Dickens. I love his characterizations. I'm a spoofer, and if you've read the book, I like caricatures of people. So yeah, those are some of my top favorites.
If you had to do it all over again, would you change anything in your latest book?
This one,
Hmm.
uh, I would. Some people are confused about the size of the Toddlians, and it was something that I had thought over too, because at first he can't see them very well. He just sees a spark, and then he and Lucy look at it under her microscope, and they see tiny little people, and then they're a little bit like he always has to wear special glasses that she's made to be able to magnification glasses to see them, but uh, it confuses some people. To me, it was clear that it's a fantasy element that as he discovers them, he can see them better. But you know, had a few people point out, well, I'm not sure what size they actually are. So I guess I would have tried to make that somehow clearer in the beginning. That his sock is so disgusting that he doesn't notice that it's got all these people on it. So to me, I guess that's one aspect that I might have tried to clarify a little bit.
Well, how small are they? Like, clarify now.
Well, they're like ant size.
Ant size.
Right. They're little. I mean, he can look at them with the naked eye and maybe like the cowgirl toddling, and he can see that she's got a hat on or something. But so they're itty bitty. They require magnification. But as he begins to believe in them, they become larger. And I am not the world's most logical person, but I think that's one thing that I would just clarify a little bit. It doesn't seem to bother most readers, but some people have pointed it out.
So what's the hardest and the easiest thing about writing a book?
The hardest thing is generally, um, for me, keeping on plot, and so I've tried to learn to outline. Um, I often say finding time, but you find time to do anything you really want, and so I just find time to get up early in the morning or do it late at night. I'm used to being up and down at night anyway with all these kids. So, but for me, I get a great idea. It starts to happen in my head. I start writing as fast as I can, and I let that idea just go. And it's one of those things like I should have mentioned Little Women, where Jo falls in, as one of my most influential books, where she falls into a vortex writing, and she's just, that's what happens to me. I have to, be careful when I start writing because things just will gush out. And then you have all this gushing and it's not really flowing anywhere, and all of a sudden you've got big plot holes and problems. So that is probably my easiest and hardest thing. Is inspiration is not hard for me. I mean, it's everywhere. I like to talk. I like to write. I've always got ideas all around me, and ideas that just upon ideas that I wish I had more time to write. So inspiration is probably one of the easiest things for me, and then disciplining myself to outline ahead of time and still feel like I haven't killed my creativity doing that. That's my next process that I'm working on.
And then the last question before we leave is, do you have any advice for aspiring writers?
Okay, yes. Just write what moves you. Write the story that you want to write. Don't worry so much about the market. I am not one of those that say don't think about the market at all, because what a sad thing if you truly do want to become published, then to then go, well, I'm sorry, but we just don't publish vampires anymore. So get a little market savvy, because people say, well, those good stories will always find a place, and I don't know that that's always true, because it's a tough business. Also, you're just going to have to surround yourself with a lot of other good writers who will be honest with you, but who will also encourage you, because it's rough to get reviews where they say this is horrible. That's not easy. You get good reviews too, but if you have a bunch of people that you can say, okay, this is just how it is. We got a book out there, and it's tough. But I think my number one thing would be just to write the story that is in you. And I know people say that a lot, but that's really the truth, because then you're going to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, go do something else, because it's not always the fun you hope it will be once you get on the other side. But it is pretty doggone cool to walk into a bookstore and go, oh, yes,
there's my book.
That is a feeling quite like none other. Yes.
Did you, like, when you first saw it, were you like, take a picture, that's my book?
Yeah, and I know they think I'm nuts, because at the store we have a local indie, and they're really sweet, and they've been so great to me. But when I went into the local Barnes & Noble, I didn't see it, and I didn't see it in the new releases, and I was like, oh. And then I saw it, and I was just like, oh, yeah. I did.
You ever, I know some authors do this. When you go into the Barnes & Noble, do you just say, hey, I can sign these books for you?
I haven't done that there. I am so shy. In fact, the guy checking me out the first time I bought my own book in the bookstore, said, do you know you bought two of the same book? And I said, I'm the author. And so I guess I could. I know a lot of writers do that. But for me, it's kind of more fun just to kind of go in covertly and be like, take a picture of it,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I probably should be more about that, but.
Hey, it doesn't matter. And maybe, you'll grow into it or something, as time goes by, but.
Well, and that's one other thing I would say to writers that really want to get published is you better be prepared for public speaking. And, I don't really have a problem with that. I've done a lot of that. But it's when you're actually reading your words and you're talking about your work. It's a whole nother thing. But just be ready, because that's going to come. And most writers are introverts, supposedly. I know they all aren't, but that can be really tough.
And then, oh yeah?
I'm enjoying this. These are great questions.
Well, the interview has to end right now. I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell everybody about the giveaway. Okay. And the giveaway is obviously by the grace of Todd, which is what she's holding up the whole interview. And this is international.
I got security blanket.
There's your security. Okay, so it's international. And in order to win, you must do one of two things. First thing you need to do is this chat is going to become a YouTube video. And when it becomes a YouTube video, you need to comment on that video. And then the second thing, this is optional but extra points, is you follow Louise on Twitter. And I will put her Twitter name in the description when I can. And then this ends next Saturday, which I believe is the 24th. And again, comment on this video and then follow. Oh, forgot to tell you. If you do follow her, please put your username in the comments so I can verify your entry. So I don't know if you're cheating or not. And that's it. Thank you so much, Louise. This was fun to talk to you.
Thank you, Rachel. It's been fun.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.